for the third time, Tubesters. Welcome to one of my videos. Yes, it's Gav. And you're looking at some Eureka Miniatures 18mm metal A.B. Napoleonics. A.B. was the initials Anthony Barton, who sculpted them and who owned the range, I believe, before Eureka. I'm painting them as Wurzburgers. This is their Confederation of the Rhine unit, if for want of a better word. And you can paint them as Nassau and lots of other Confed of the Rhine. These have been painted in roughly around the 1811 period. I'm using Rawkins, which you probably can't get anymore as far as I'm aware. The gentleman passed away a couple of years ago. I'm not sure what's been happening with the Rawkins titles. But anyway, I always use where I can Rawkins for my painting guides. So I will just lift the camera up slightly so I can show you some individual figures. Before I do that, I just wanted to give a channel shout out because it was another fella's painting of his A.B. Napoleonics that gave me the impetus to have that's a big word, Gav, impetus to have a go on painting some more A.B.s. This was realistically, I think I said in another video, one of only a couple of formed units that I could hoik out the stash and paint. So I've gone for these and painted them as I'd always originally thought of painting them as Wurzburgers. So yeah, go and please check out Little Lances. Link will be in the description. UK based channel, not very big, only roughly started not long ago. He paints most scales. He's got some 20mm Zulu War figures that he's showing off at the moment, but other videos he's got A.B. Napoleonics, and there'll be other stuff there, I'm sure. So go and check Little Lances out, please. It's always nice to give somebody a boost up the ratings, if that makes sense. Oh, that sounds a bit painful, doesn't it? Really? Never mind. Go and check him out. So yeah, let's have a look at these ABs that I'm painting at the moment. As you can see, primed in white. It took about 2 or 3 passes with the airbrush, a couple of minutes between. They're in lacquer, by the way, so I could do that. It, dries off fairly quick for me to give another pass over because it's going over bare metal. This is the AK lacquer sprayed through an airbrush. Obviously, everything else is brushwork. There's no way am I trying to paint these with an airbrush. I've done 2 NCOs. I've got 2 colour bearers per regiment, and I haven't got any colours for them yet because I hadn't decided to do these at the time. But yeah, I've painted him with some NCO stripes on. The only difference with his Mara here is I painted him with a different shako. Rawkins says for these guys, black and grey shakos were the most predominant. So that's what I've gone for. I've painted them non-metallic, as you can see. I prefer them in this configuration. I often find that on these scales, and yes, I know I use metallics on the even smaller scales of the Epic range and that, but I just enjoy painting when I do the ABs, and I just like non-metallic. I like that Osprey book effect where you're using greys and whites and that, and obviously for brass browns and yellows to replicate what would be metallic. Chin scales, I've painted them. You can't really see very well, but they are non-metallic. Well, everything's non-metallic, but being painted brass. Rawkins says that they often ditch the scales or wrapped them up in their knapsacks, backpacks, whatever, and just had the leather strap, so you could paint them black leather if you wanted to. These have got white piping around the red. You can't see it very well. Painted in a warm configuration of white, which is Vallejo's bone white, and which is like a really browny white, and then different warm whites mixed in 50-50 at a time, like pale sand into the bone, then pale sand by itself, then pale sand and ivory, then ivory, and then very sparingly the odd touch of cold white, which I know goes against if I've been doing all these other warm whites, but I use a touch of cold white very occasionally if I want to make something stand out on a highlight, but it is only sparingly. Because I've painted white, the reds will stand out more vibrant, as will the greens. What I'll do on the red is I'll paint the red on, which will already give it a more brighter effect. I'll then put a dab of white paint on where I want to put another highlight, and I'll just put a thin coat of red over it again to make it jump more. And then I go into the recesses with a wine red, which is like a darkish red, just to give, and that colour contrast gives you that bit of a brighter look to it. And the same with the green. Of course, you don't have to do any of that. You don't have to paint them non-metallic. It's just the way you have to paint them. So, like a charcoaly gaiters, I brighten them up slightly just to make them stand out against the boots. The boots to make them stand out, and the leather peak on the shako. As you can see there, I put some blue straight on there, and it gives you like a more shiny effect. I will normally do it on the. Have I done it on? Yeah, I have roughly. You can't really see. This is shining a bit slightly because on that one I'd use a turquoise ink by mistake rather than turquoise. And the ink, as you know, until it gets a coat of matte varnish on, will shine. And I don't like that. I like it to be matte as I'm painting it. I don't know why, because they're going to get coated in a clear coat varnish anyway. But Vorkins again says great coats were more or less grey. He said, and he does say like because these were in Spain as well as fighting in the Orcs in the east. It but they were mainly grey. But you could use great coats, different colours, obviously captured ones, locally produced, all that stuff. And I was deciding whether I wanted to add some different trouser colours. Obviously for Spain and that, you could use the well-known browns and stuff. I've decided to keep them all in the same uniform, not for any laziness or whatever, just loaf of bread on the back here, or you could call it a cheese, depending on what you wanted to say. But it looked the way that it's been sculpted looked like a loaf of bread to me. Yeah, you do what you do. I'm gonna when I've got some money, gonna send off some early. I like the early period of the Napoleonic Wars. So the late 1790s into the 1804, 1806 type of thing. This is the light infantry company. The other green, where is it? Come on, green guy. No, well, the ones with the green pom poms there from the first company. It's always a bit confusing if you don't know the French Napoleonics. They've got two green pom pom companies. Obviously, I'm putting mine as this is the light infantry company, so he's in skirmishing, out skirmishing. So I've given him a different green, obviously, for his epaulets and his pom pom. Same goes on this one. You can use a bit of dark green. I had a bit of purple just to show you different colours. How you can change tones in paint. I could have gone for a darker green, but I'd already got some purple from the night before on my wet palette for painting me Warhammer figure. So I put a bit of purple to shadow the pom pom and around the epaulets and down inside. And by the time it goes on, as long as it's not thick purple, it'll go just a dark green. So that's our guy. I know that I'm sorry that camera's picking up the background, but I've done this so many times. I just don't have the heart to move everything. What have we got here? Right, we've just got one more. I think fully painted. These other guys behind haven't had faces or anything done yet. And this is our officer for the first company. When I order these, I buy them. This isn't a battalion pack, say it's all different ones. But I've put like 5 of these, and I want one of these. And what I do, I think I've said to you before, these are going on a 40 by 30 basis. I decided in the end, and I do like to have an officer and a drummer or a sergeant, and something slightly different on each base. So I like to have an officer on each base, and there'll be 4 bases or five 5 including the light base, I believe, or 4 bases and two light soldiers on a single base. But yeah, brass for this guy without dropping him. Non-metallic there is just something like burnt umber, gold brown. Then you could use any type of yellow. I used chromite yellow, which is like an aircraft colour, but it's got a bit of green in it, but it's quite bright as well. Put that on as a highlight. You don't have to really do any mixing at this scale. Just dab them on, and then a very speculative white dot here and there just to show it shining. So yeah, there we go. That's our Wurzburgers, and yeah, I'm enjoying these, I must say. It's I call them the raspberry ripples, just because of the paint colours. Raspberry ripples is an ice lolly over here. If anybody from abroad doesn't know that, yeah, so great. So you've got mounted officer in the corner. He's still yet to have the chevrolet. That's like the horse cover. That's got to be filled around. That there's always a gap on these, as there are on most metal figures when you put a rider to a horse. It's not hard to do. I just roll out a piece of epoxy putty. I used to use just the white Vallejo squeezy type stuff like Perfect Putty, but it doesn't really. The gap's usually slightly too deep, and it always dishes in, if that makes sense. It goes concave, and I'm using some big words today. Yeah, I just roll out a little sausage, push it in with a clay shaper, and then just smooth it out, and that does the job. So that's that. I've shot this video about 3 times. I have a book I wanted to show you on the Battle of Marengo period, and it's got a good uniform guides in it for anybody who wants to have a go at that. So let's just see if I can hold this up somehow. Really sorry, this is the best you're going to get. The tripod's right on the edge of the desk, so. This has got, as it says here, let me read it because you won't be able to see it, 68 illustrated uniforms based on the original research with eyewitness accounts of each stage of the battle. So this is for the Battle of Marengo in 1800. And it's for Napoleonic uniforms of the French Consular Army of the Reserve and the Austrian Imperial Army of the Italian campaign in 1800. It's a lovely book. I got mine for £17. They are a lot more expensive sometimes, but the original price is £20, so I wouldn't go above that. Different style of painting, as you can see. You could say it's fairly stylized, the colours in some ways, and you don't get a uniform plate with a load of text at the side of each one saying, going into great depth. But what they will do is give you a uniform plate. There's a couple of first-hand accounts that are written around that, or in the preceding pages. And what they do is say for the Austrian grenadier that you see on the left here, they will say such and such regiment, 3 battalions, 2 with white metal buttons, 1 with brass or yellow metal buttons, 2 with red turnbacks, 1 with yellow. I'm making this up as I go along, but you get the idea. You've got a young Napoleon there as consul, and it's enough. It's what you need, and I'm sure everybody can work out the colours. You could paint your figures in high high contrast like this. Very dark shadows, very bright highlights, but obviously most of us wouldn't, especially at this 18mm scale or 28s even really. But there's enough there that you can work out that, let's face it, Austrian uniforms white, they probably look like that more than they did stark white, which is why I quite often prefer painting mine in that warm off-white colour, just because I think it looks more, for me, more appropriate than having it, blinging ice white type of thing. But yeah, lovely book. There's photographs at the beginning. Obviously, they have a walk through, talk through of Marengo battle. There's maps in there. There's period maps with obviously they put their own arrows here, there, and everywhere as book companies do. Um, but there's photographs in here of the Marengo battlefield as it is now. But and it's surprising how many of the Italian farms that were fought around and whatever, how they're still intact, and they don't. To be honest with you, they don't look much different from some are in a bit of a state of disrepair, but they don't look a great deal different. Uh, but each of the photographs will give you an idea of when there's an eyewitness account saying, or if they're explaining something about the battle. You can go and look at that photographs, and it does give you an idea of what these soldiers were seeing at the time. So yeah, lovely book. That's how thick it is. I'm going to show you the ISBN number, whatever they call it. Right, that's the ISBN number if you want to do that. I don't know what that QR. I've never used a QR code in my life, so I don't know where that'll take you. Original price or recommended price £20.90. So I got mine for £17 with free shipping on Amazon, or the wife did for me. And these are the others in the titles. As you can see, Uniforms of Austerlitz, 1805, Uniforms of Jena, 1806, both the periods I enjoy, and Uniforms of Blenheim, or Blenheim, as we'd say over here, 1704, also a period I enjoy. So yeah, I just thought anybody that was interested in that, if you didn't know that book or that series of books is around, you might want to go and check them out. 68 uniform guides for you there. Lovely battlefield description, and as it says, it can be used then as a starting point. My words, to explore, in deeper depth Marengo and the Italian campaign for that period. So please go and check out Little Lance's. He greatly appreciate your subs and any input you may have on his figures, kindly. And yeah, thanks for stopping by and taking a look, and we'll catch each other very, very soon on another video.